To kick off the afternoon, we have Cobus Frey and Bui from Tyme Group. Cobus is a lead for the global cloud platforms and enterprise services at Tyme, and also include their observability strategy. He's worked on IT industry in various roles and verticals in the UK, Africa, and Asia. And is DevOps technical lead for global monitoring at Tyme. One of the things that he does is enables development teams to roll out observability by providing training and tools. He's also one of the first certified data professionals. So they're here to share a fantastic story on how to build a digital bank in only 6 months. So please, big round of applause.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Thanks very much for the opportunity to chat with you guys this afternoon. Welcome. Cool. So let's start off by looking at who we are and what we're actually aiming to do. So I'm going to look at all these wonderful words there. We are a multi-country digital banking group focused on bridging the digital divide in emerging markets by integrating into physical retail ecosystems. We are driven by the conviction that broadening economic participation unlocks human potential. This is a lot of words. Actually, we see ourselves as serial digital bank builders. That's what we're aiming to do. So why digital banks and why do we want to play in that market? So let's look at a few trends. Cool. So if you think globally, 1.7 billion people lack access to financial services. This is approximately 31% of the adult population. Of that 31%, 75% is actually falling within our target markets, which is 25% in Africa and 50% in Asia. It's quite interesting. That comes from the World Bank. Then, during the pandemic, digital adoption by the consumers grew by approximately 300%, 20% to 58%. Further to that, the 65% of emerging countries reported the increase in transactions and remittance, 24% increase in digital banking, 22% increase in digital savings, and 14% increase in acceptance of digital lending. There's quite a few things to keep in mind. Further to that, to help this grow, 93 regulatory policy changes on digital financial services, of which the three top ones is eKYC, digital ID, and digital onboarding. Further to that, 65 of these is within the key markets for Tyme. 50 of these changes was done in Africa and 15 in South and Southeast Asia. That's why it is a market that we need to give attention to. So, let's see how we do it, and let's see how we see our growth being propelled. So if you look at the digital flywheel here, you can see lower cost to acquire and serve, create better products and services, higher engagement with our clients, increase in revenue, that in turn give us the economies of scale and allow us to expand. So this actually is how we actually create and support our multi-country digital banking strategy. So how do we do it? Okay, cool. If we look at geographically, we're timing. So head office is Singapore for business strategy, business enablement, and data and analytics. Tyme Vietnam is our tech and product environment hub. And then we've got our banks. Tyme Bank is our flagship bank, Tyme Bank has got a 52% underbanked, 94% smartphone adoption, lovely, and a median age of 28. Lovely market for digital banking. Our second bank we launched actually this month is in the Philippines, Tyme. 78% underbanked, 65% smartphone adoption, median age 26. Then our third one is Pakistan, where we applied for a digital banking license. And they are 77% underbanked, 49% smartphone adoption, and 22 median age. In summary, if you look at the market capacity for Tyme, if you look, South Africa has got a population of 60 million approximately, of which the Tyme addressable market is approximately 40 million. Philippines, population of 110 million, Tyme addressable market around about 60 million. Pakistan, 220 million, Tyme addressable market around about 100 million. That gives you 200 million Tyme addressable market out of a population of 390 million people. Put it in perspective. United States, total population approximately 330 million. This is 3 countries. So, let's take a closer look at Tyme Bank. We've launched Tyme Bank 3.5 years ago. The growth in Tyme Bank was 5.5 million customers onboarded, 5.63 actually when I looked this morning, in 3.5 years. We've got an activity rate of more than 65% of our customers in a 30-day period that actually use the bank. We achieved an NPS of 61%, or 61, which is actually the highest in the banking industry. The average is 36. Having such a high rate of acquiring, such an activity, and still having that score means we're doing something right. I'm not going to tell you all the secrets. For instance, one thing that we do in our innovative environment was a product called More Tyme. More Tyme is a buy now, pay later. So currently we've got more than 1,100 retail brands that's actually distributing More Tyme as a service. We've got in excess of $50 million revenue in South Africa. All of that generates employee base of over 650 people that is globally dispersed, as you can see from our demographics. In summary, we've got Tyme Bank, Tyme that is launched, and a banking license that we're currently waiting for. So, how do we do it? What was the value that we brought to the customer? Imagine you can walk into a store, in under 5 minutes walk out with a bank card personalized, a banking app activated, and internet banking that gives you access to all the banking services. Well, we've done that. Custom kiosk. You can't draw money at this kiosk. You can't deposit money. This is purely for onboarding. Only thing you need is bring your fingerprints and the face if you want. And 5 minutes later, you follow the chain, you've got your card, you can start transacting. If we take this further and we look at, we'll walk you through the actual typical in-store transaction chain. So firstly, we make use of the public footfall that we get. We then co-brand and use advertising with our partners that actually creates some trust. We then make use of our tools as tellers. So we've, in essence, got each store is for us a teller where you can do cash in, cash out at a very, very low cost. Further to that, you actually integrate with your customer on the specials, on all the loyalty programs. That actually creates a further value chain for the client. And this helps us. We've got to actually achieve 80+% onboarding in store with our kiosk, our organic acquisition of approximately 60% via our digital channels, the Facebooks, the Twitters, everything else, all those annoying ads that you get. And that's where Tyme Bank is. Let's move to building banks. Okay, that's better. Okay, if we look at what we've got, we started 4 years ago. We built Tyme Bank. It took us approximately 4 years to be where we are. This was a bank that was built partially on-premise and then moved to the cloud. We built a few iterations in the meantime in the cloud. Bank 2 built in 13 months. Less than a third of the time it took us to do the first bank. Cloud native bank, nothing on-premise. So that expedites, that help us use cloud native services, much more cost effective, and it allows us to use everything as code. So we believe strongly that with the third bank, what we've learned and how we've implemented it, we can deploy and build a bank within 6 months. So let's see how we think we can do that. Replication, automation. So if we look at our mobile app, this is actual fact between the two banks. Very much similar, a little bit of a GUI change. But in essence, it's the same code being used. Using global services, best of breed. Datadog is our observability, global observability platform. AWS is our cloud platform. We are a single cloud user. We don't have multiple clouds. It makes it easier, and it just speeds up our deployments. Then looking at our architectures and components, we've got WSO2 for our integration and API management. We've got Mambu as our GL. We've got Pega as our customer management system. We've got Actimize as our AML and fraud. And then there's various others. The advantage of using these, they're highly scalable and very easy to replicate. So, let's look at this. So how do we get all of this done? So we are an agile shop. To build faster, we need to deploy faster. We need to enable our people. So what have we got? 2 weekly sprints. We do approximately 70 code drops per week, deployments. But at that rate, you don't see this as a real deployment anymore, just a code drop. We've got approximately 250 well-integrated microservices that actually supports the agile flow to enable us to actually be faster, quicker, and more responsive. So, without any further ado, I want to actually introduce Hai with his platform team and how he enables our feature teams to actually get all of this right. Hai, thank you.
Thank you, Cobus. So, hello everyone. My name is Hai. I work at the Cloud Infra team. So, to build a banking platform to support a multi-country at the Vietnam time, we have 25 the development team and 1 Cloud Infra team. So, why only 1? Let's take a step back for the 3 years when we build the first bank. We start at 9 members and serve 10 teams. So, it's really easy to support and have the feature team with some manual steps and have them to create their resource. And the second bank will coming, then the feature team growing to 25. So that we cannot keep the old working model. It's not scalable. It's create a cognitive load. We need to spend small efforts to support the whole bank and it's more context switching. Another idea, we can build a new dedicated platform team for go time, but it will be breaking our standard and we cannot learn anything from the past. So finally, to adopt with the replication strategy, we decided to keep 1 global cloud platform team to support a multi-country and keep the same experience for each bank. So now the feature team will be working with the principal. You run it And the platform team will enable the feature team to achieve this goal and the delivery faster. So how we do that? We try to automate as much as possible, and we start to build our internal CI/CD. We call it the time pipeline. We convert the manual step and put it to the pipeline to reduce the waiting time. So, for example, in the past, the feature team need to trigger the build step manually after the code is merging. So to improve that, we trigger we listening the event from the merge and trigger the build step automatically. Instead of waiting the QA team to help us test, we inject the automation test on the pipeline and let the QA team develop and review it multiple times. Apply the automation by the time pipeline help us cut waiting time for 40% or end-to-end the deployment. And on the time pipeline, we also enforce some rules like the dependency check, tagging, and naming convention to build the guardrail for the feature team. The next, we define the multi-X platform model. So at that, the feature team can easily use and provision some platform resource themselves without waiting the platform team. The platform team can control the quality of the standardization and compliance. The feature team working experience will be transparency for each bank. We got a lot of inspiration from the book Team Topology by Manuel Page, which is illustration form. So, how did we implement the multi-X platform model? We provide the self-managed service and the feature team who use those services to build their product without waiting the platform team to support and allow them to focus to the delivery their work. In fact, how long the developer actually do the coding, the majority of the time we're waiting us to provision the resource and explain their context or their requirement. So now they can create the API and publish this, redefine the file transfer flow, build the alert and SLO dashboard, provision some compute service like the ECS, EKS, and Lambda, build and roll out the new keynote version. It saves them a lot of time and give focus on the coding. And one more principle on the self-managed service must be built on the time pipeline. And it supports the replication to multi-country. So let's go to deep dive for some example. Firstly, Datadog integration on the ECS. We integrate the Datadog and the log agent by the time pipeline build step. We provide the feature team a guideline how to set it up. It's good, but we can do better. To help the feature team focus more to delivery their app, we simplify their work. We did everything behind the time pipeline. So they just need to increase the time pipeline version and toggle on the feature. Secondly, build and operation the standardization is a very important step for us to keep the good feature team experience and transparency. For example, build the Datadog SLO template. We build the template via the AWS CloudFormation extension that allows the deploy the SLO via the CloudFormation template. So the feature team can use our build template to build the SLO. And they just need to update some threshold parameter like the target and the time frame. So now we can decentralize our ownership to feature team, but still control the quality and the standardization. And now the feature team can create their service availability SLO themselves. We also build and use the template to control another Datadog resource like the log archive, log pipeline for the platform team operation purpose. Embed learning culture. We build online training program to enable the platform skill for on-time engineer. With Datadog, we work closely with the technical account manager to build out the Datadog training plan beyond Datadog Learning Center with 3 levels of onboarding, foundation, and practicing. Datadog Learning Center also provides us the lab for its code, and it also have the engineering sandbox environment to do the testing and learning the Datadog skill. To continue learning, we create the observability community. We use it to share about the new feature, blog, and organize the technical workshop like today, the Dash keynote, right? And due to the COVID-19 last year, we could organize the workshop online. But for this year, we did it offline with more engagement and interaction. To help the feature team improve software delivery performance, we implement the DORA metric. So the DORA stands for the DevOps Research and Assessment Team by Google. We measure the throughput using the time of code change and deployment frequency. To measure the stability, we use the time to restore a service after an incident and change failure rate. We base the operation performance on the reliability, which is how well service meets user experience, such as the availability and the performance. Okay, last summary. I want to share 4 takeaways for building a bank in segment. It's very ambitious. Firstly, replication as much as possible and learn from the past. Secondly, fast delivery speed achieved through the automation and decentralized ownership. Thirdly, embed the observability in our culture and way of working, allow everyone to be the same page. Last but least, metric like DORA allow better value sooner, safer, and happier. So, thank you.
So, how different are the banks? Like, do they use some of the same shared services, or are they completely like separate entities?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, we still keep both model. Some kind we just replicate it for the bank only. So like some compute job we replicate it, but we still try to build some. We call it the multi-country product, like the new coming this fractional share. Then we will build one engine and will consume by multi-product. So it is the whole way. But onboard is just keep on the bank only.
And is there a reason that you have like the separate brands between the different countries versus like moving into the country under the same sort of umbrella, like bank, like I guess the way that I think about it is like Deutsche Bank or something, right? They're in multi countries, but they're not called. I don't know, but is there like a regulatory reason, or?
So not really a regulatory reason, but it depends on who we partner with. So we don't own all the banking licenses in the different countries. So if, for instance, country 2, we do have partners there, and it end up, being the name. In bank 3, we will most probably be Tyme Bank Pakistan, known as that. So that is a bit of a different model. So it's a more of a soft one in the back. So
Okay.
Business strategy.
Thank you.
Cool, sir.
Thanks for the talk. I'm interested in hearing, you have so many different teams, and then you have a platform team and then feature teams. Do you enforce like SDKs from the platform team to the feature teams, and they have to, you said they use pipeline as a service. And then one thing after that would be, in Datadog, do you provision each team's their own separate dashboards? It seems like it'd be a lot of data to sort through and organize.
Yeah. Let me confirm your question. So you mean that we build some SDK for another team? Actually, we want to come with the service provider. So like the Datadog, we will build the monitoring as a service. So at that, not only the platform team, the Datadog action line, only us can create the alert, or only us can create the dashboard. This will block everything, and we can deliver it faster. So what we do, we build the monitoring as a service based on the CloudFormation Tyme pipeline out the internal CI/CD and Datadog API. Datadog also have the feature for CloudFormation refugee to build the template for like ISO with the SLA. Then we can easy to use this to build another one. But some kind of the feature don't have on the Datadog, then we custom and build a custom resource for us. Then the feature team now, they use the pipeline like every service. So they just provision the template and fill out some metric like as I said, for like the threshold or the time frame. And we also help them to do the detection or the correct the naming convention for on dependency check, so something like that. So they freedom, yeah, in the boundary.
Thank you for a good presentation. I have two questions. First one is, I wonder, you said it only took 6 months in Pakistan. So I wonder, in my memory, there is a legal restriction in each countries. So how did you guys solve that kind of problem so fast in 6 months? This is not technology related question, but I really wonder.
No, that is not. So by the time we start the 6 months is when these things are already done. Mm-hmm. So you apply for your license, you go through all the regulatory requirements. And in most of the countries, I mean, cloud is new. To do a native cloud bank is not well known all over. So there's a few rules that need to change. And there's a few interactions. And that will take most of the time. But what we focus on is actually the technology to make sure that we can do that as fast as possible after all of the other regulatory requirements is met.
Okay. Second question is, any data between the countries transferred to each other? I mean, you said that there are many the service in many countries like Pakistan and Singapore and South Africa. So I think there is a restriction blocking the data transfer between the countries because in my country, South Korea, we have a regulation that we have to have our data in our territory. So we had to do something for it. So I wonder, what did you guys do for that kind of problem?
So a lot of the data, in South Africa's case, they've actually allowed us certain countries where the data can reside, as long as you keep a backup of the data in country. So with AWS, it's easy because we built in Ireland. We allowed Ireland and Frankfurt and South Africa. So, and then you do your backups, you run, and you actually keep that stored in South Africa. With the other bank, it is actually allowed to have the data in Singapore. So whenever we actually use the data dock and we actually store our logs, we actually do apply the data sensitivity scanner, and we do actually hash out data that's not allowed to leave. So any PII data. So certain of the countries have got much stricter rules around that. But currently we were lucky to be able to use the cloud, and as long as we don't share data with each other. And although you build these multi-bank platforms, you will never share the data. You will always keep that segregated. You can have the application layer shared, but you'll always have a portion of the application layer shared. You'll never have everything shared. So, but I mean, that will keep you the segregation. I mean, even with Datadog, with Datadog, we've got a global observability, but we've got an agreement with them that the data will not be shared between the two. It's been seen by each bank as a different set of data.
Right.
Thank you.
Just for more information, like the Datadog, we structure the account like we build the multi-organization under one global account. So then the data will split for each other.
Hi, thank you for the talk. My question is regarding your different teams. Does the platform team enforce one CI/CD technology across all the different development teams, or is there creative freedom to choose a CI/CD technology or is there wiggle room, I guess, or are you strict with the pipelines?
At least from now, we need to make one direction for the CI/CD. So we build the core pipeline, so that this on of that is the infrastructure as code, and it's based on the AWS code pipeline and code deploy. So another one can, if they want to custom for them, they can easy to do that. But they need to do the PR, then us will review this one if this is not the same pattern with another. So that is the idea. But the principle is we go with the cloud native, and we must keep the info for everything on the Tyme pipeline. So that is the principle. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi. I have a question about the learning culture. So how do you determine what are the things that the whole team should learn, and how do you promote that learning culture and get engagement from like everyone?
Yeah, that is a very good question. So I can share about our story. So when I start to develop the Datadog on the Tyme, so many people ask me about what is the APM, what is the log, how can we create the log metric. So it takes a lot of time for me to explain one by one. So my CEO come through with the idea. We build the e-learning center. Then on that, we just put the video and some online training to this. And we have, as I say that, we have 3 levels, right, for the onboarding. So the onboarding is mandatory for everyone, every engineer, when they onboard to our company. Then they should have some very foundation information like the Datadog or the AWS, or how can we use the pipeline, but just very surface. And after they onboard, they need to learn how to use the monitoring and the service by the Tyme pipeline. And then on the way that they need to understand some definition like what is the APM, what is the Datadog agent, and so it reduces a lot of time for us to answer one by one question. And on the e-learning center, it also help us do some report like that, so we can easy to track the traffic like what team were assigned to learn and how the progress they are in progress or they complete, and we can easy to track everything on this one. So that's why.
Okay, thanks.
I just have to add, we also had a technical account manager from Datadog for the last year, and he actually did help a lot to get the people educated.
Sure.
It does make a difference. So anybody that wants to large scale rollout, I can suggest they do think of that.
Okay.
So the question is around the self-service. I have two questions. First question is, can you share how you do the self-service for the engineering team? And the second question is, if the self-service fail, what your protocol for recruit from the failure of the self-service?
That's a very good question. So it is the one thing we need to define first. So in Tyme, the first we need to define what is the definition of each of the service, and we need to define the receive model. So like AWS, like Datadog, when we provide some service, you need to provide some receive model. What is our responsibility? What is your responsibility? So just keep one. Okay. So like the API integration level. So we out the platform for the API gateway and the identity service. And if the service have the problem, this is our responsibility. But if the API make the code maybe 500 or 400, so the feature team need to take a look first. But they can escalate to us to do the troubleshooting together. So that's why we need to build a RACI model and the definition of the service, what we provide for the feature team, and share for them to make sure that we align about the work.
So it sounds like just an API for call. It's not like really self-service. Self-service, from when I hear your talk, self-service is just like some kind of a button I can click and it's create stuff for me, right? So that is called self-service. But look like this is like some kind of APIs that the engineering team can call to create the service. Is it?
Yep. We try to do this by the code first, the infrastructure is code first. So from now,
I see.
Okay, don't have
thank
any the UI. So because we on the developer, right? So we like coding. That's why.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, awesome presentation, by the way. I'm just kind of curious, given the size difference between your feature teams and your platform team, how did you deal with mass adoption of like newer cloud, I guess, best practices if you're only a single team having to deal with 25-ish feature teams?
So I think maybe you can give some example. Is it quite wide?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is pretty wide, but I'm guessing as a platform team, you have to enforce a certain like standard. And I guess my question is, as these standards change or evolve, I guess, with how much you scale, how do you make sure that all the teams can keep track of these changes?
Yeah.
So part of that is when we onboard anybody onboarded, they actually get their AWS driver's license. For instance, the same as they get their driver's license for Datadog. So there's a set of standards that we actually provide. And we actually try to keep that as dated as possible. So we've got our internal tool that actually allows you to actually, or you get actually prompted and see, go and look at the following documentation that's changed. I mean, so you have to start automating all of those things. And we're actually quite far down that process. I mean, that was also evolution, which happened over the last 4 years as we grew. But yes, that's the only way that you can really implement that. And then also by making sure that as people are joining and you get newcomers, they understand that there are standards and there are boundaries to moving. But when working with a lot of developers, you can't take all the freedom away because you just frustrate them as well. So, and I think that's coming back to the other question the previous gentleman asked as well. So yes, you can't just make everything self-service, because what excitement are there for the guys? But yes, there are some strong guidelines that you need to stay within when developing.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Hello. This is the first time I heard of XaaS as a model. So how did you decide that XaaS was the right model for you, and were there other models that you thought of?
Yeah, it's a good one. So actually, if you heard about the team topology, so you can imagine that. So I think you can have a chance to read it. This is inspire us to the direction to go with the platform as a service. So you can see our challenge. So we just have the one team, but we need to now we have 2 banks, right? But in maybe next year we have 3 banks. So how can we serve with maybe 35 teams? So we cannot do one by one, right? Then we need to reduce our workload. We need to make the standardization more clearly and to make everyone on the same page. So that's why we want to go with the platform as a service. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.